know, I have food diaries all over the place, food ideas and tasting menu ideas and techniques. It's just all over the place. I'm always, you know, writing down inspiration. I've lived in New York for about a decade now. I've worked in Manhattan at restaurants. I have been a chef at a Michelin restaurant. I've done a lot, you know, in my career. It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of work. But now I kind of have the free time to get to express myself, you know, through YouTube. We're doing a tasting menu today called grapes. Konnichiwa, I'm Shibumi Jones. Thanks for joining me. Nice to meet you if I've never met you, and if I have, I'm charmed to see you again. Yeah, I'm a chef, but yeah, I would consider myself kind of a character. I'm the Queen of Hearts in my food wonderland. To tell you the truth, I'm not innocent enough to be Alice. I'm like the Darth Vader up in that. Up with his head! The reason I chose to do grapes is because I think it's underestimated how much of an impact they have on our cuisine. Grapes come in so many different forms in our society, and they're very important. And I just want to showcase that with this menu. I mean, you've got different levels of fermentation, dehydration, preservation. We do a lot with grapes. We even eat the leaves. This is going to be a visual tasting menu. Unfortunately, you can't taste it, you know. That is until somebody wants to bankroll my supper club. Then we can actually make an event where people can taste the food. But for now, we're just going to put this tasting menu in a video, and you get to see the dishes and hear the inspiration behind them. So for the first course, we are gonna do a domate, which is a stuffed grape leaf. This is an amuse bouche, so it's a bite-sized piece. The reason I chose this is, number one, it's one of the common ways that we use grape leaves. And the other reason I chose this for the first dish is because you don't really know exactly what's inside. It's wrapped up in that leaf, so it's a gift, it's a present. Packaged inside the grape leaf, we have cauliflower instead of rice. I don't do too many grains, so I prefer cauliflower rice over regular rice any day. Cauliflower has amazing flavor. We steamed them in wine. We made some macerated raisins, golden raisins, and also red raisins. Those are macerated in sugar and wine, so they're basically dry. And then I heat up some wine and some sugar together and cover the raisins, and as they cool down, they plump up and absorb the juice. So those are nice and sweet and syrupy, and then you have all the green, fresh herbs. You have the flavor of the cauliflower, lemon juice, grapeseed oil, salt, garlic. I packed a lot of flavor into a tiny little gift for you. Well, obviously, when you think of grapes, you think of a Waldorf salad that's classic with the grapes, the apples, the celery, yogurt dressing. Classic, classic, classic dish. So the reason I picked this dish, what I'm calling it is I'm calling it Grandma Betty, because my grandmother is very inspirational to me in this dish. The way that I plated this dish, first of all, is it kind of goes around the rim of the plate. So the way I see it is it's a jeweled necklace. My grandmother used to wear a lot of really gaudy jewelry that I loved growing up. So I'm recreating that here with my balsamic spheres and my grape gems and my apple puree and my celery leaves. I'm creating this bright necklace. I featured celery in the dish. I don't particularly like celery. Celery is just so fibrous and dense and flavorless. By the time you're done chewing it, there's no flavor left. Celery leaves, I love incorporating celery leaves in things. they're just lighter in texture and they're more elegant. For me, I sous vide the celery to make it nice and soft, and then I filled it with smoked labneh because I wanted it to have a lot of flavor. I also went one step further to smoke the labneh. My grandmother smoked growing up. With all the fresh acidic ingredients, this creamy smokiness is very pleasantly good. Also, my balsamic spheres are really nice because they look like little balsamic jewels and they're like a little pop of acid. That's just agar-agar spherification. That's all I did for that. Why does the Waldorf salad remind me of my grandmother? Well, my grandmother, in all her glory, she was, what we would say in my family, she was the Duchess of wherever she was at. So whether that was Washington State or New York or Olive Garden, she was the Duchess of Olive Garden. She was the Duchess of wherever she was. I have a lot of big aspirations and I appreciated her magnificence growing up. Yeah, so we're calling this Grandma Betty. Next plate is a cheese course. I'm calling this cheese and wine. That's kind of what this dish is all about. It's just cheese and grapes in various forms. So to me, that's cheese and wine. Camembert is a nice mild cheese. It's slightly more ripe than brie. The cheese is mild and the grapes are pretty mild. So we added a little bit of tarragon to add some florality and depth to the dish. This reminds me of a cheese plate because it's got candied walnuts, which candied nuts come on a cheese plate as an accompaniment. The grapes, we have the balsamic reduction and macerated raisins, so that's kind of screams at me wine and fruit preserves. And then we have the cheese. So it's basically just a cheese plate. Now you've graduated on to cheese plate number 2. This is cheese and wine number 2. These cheeses are much more ripe and pungent and functified and dank, so we got to pair it with a lot of sugar. So these cheeses go with very sweet wines and sweet accompaniments just because they're so barnyardy. We have an edible plate made out of sugar and almonds. We also have some bruleed grapes, so that's very sweet as well. And then we have a sweet Concord grape foam. So it looks like an ice cream sundae. A little less than 1 ounce of cheese each. You should be able to eat this in 3 bites. It also reminds me of Beetlejuice for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the purple foam. I don't know if it's because of the real pungent smell of the cheese. I don't know, but I like it because it looks like Beetlejuice to me. For the next dish, I'm calling this fruit of the sea, fruit of the land. In French and Italian, they often call shellfish fruit de mar. They call it, the fruit of the sea. So we did some scallops and some white grapes or green grapes. And we just lightly sauteed the grapes, added a bunch of fresh herbs, so parsley and tarragon, a little bit of white wine, and some salt, just real simple. And then we just seared the scallops and put a little bit of lemon on top. When I think of seafood that goes with sweet ingredients, I definitely think of scallop. It's definitely one of the things I think about. So yeah, so this dish is just very simple, very light, and very clean. We're calling this one steak and wine because that's a classic dish in American cuisine. The grapes and the port wine reduction, that represents the wine. but also because with the Moulard duck breast or the Magret duck breast, those should always be cooked like a steak. They should be cooked medium rare. I basted this duck to medium rare because I didn't want to take any chances. This again, look at this again. Tell me that doesn't look like steak, because it does. It looks like a steak. Finished with some apple puree. The apple puree is kind of a sweet, starchy, buttery component to the dish. If I did a steak, I would do potato puree, but we did duck, so I did apple puree. Similar, but slightly sweeter. Goes with game a little bit more. Just a lot more rich than the last dish. But yeah, so we're calling this steak and wine because that's what it looks like to me. This dessert is super simple. It's basically a biscuit. I'm calling it dessert and digestif in one because I have some port wine jellies. So it's kind of like you're eating your digestif with the dessert. We have a Welsh cake, which is basically a sweet biscuit. There's some macerated raisins in there. We have some cinnamon creme fraiche to add some creaminess to the dish. We also added some lemon segments and some Meyer lemon segments, because the dish is super sweet and creamy, so it needed some acid, which is also why we added the balsamic jelly on top as well. Makes a nice little addition. A lot of acid to kind of cut through the sweetness, richness, and creaminess of the dish. Bon appetit.
Yeah, my name's Ernesto. I'm a bartender that works in Brooklyn. I work at 2 separate bars, Washington Commons and the Armory. And yeah, I've been making cocktails for about 4 years or so now. Kelly is my neighbor, so I know her through being a neighbor. Grapes are pretty much a huge part of just bartending in general. Like, we use them they're big in wine, we use them in brandy, like, cognacs and stuff like that. Very interesting fruit, I do like it. To me, I guess it would be like a fruit that you don't appreciate until you actually use it in its entirety, which is what the chance that we got to do today. So
Grape, gin, fizz.
yes.
The inspiration for that was a picture you showed me
Yes.
with a really pretty drink in a coupe glass that had foam on top.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's like more so like it's like a straight gin fizz. Like usually like gin fizz is like in like a con glass with like rocks, and it's usually like topped like sauce or something like that. But I wanted to give it a little bit more of a different pop. We used gin, regular brand, nothing crazy. Then we also had a grape syrup, and it was lemon juice, and that was just quick shake, poured that out, and then we topped it off with a white grape foam, and then gave it a little bit of extra flavor. So like the white grapes and the grape syrup themselves just came together, blended really well.
It was super elegant
Super
looking
drinkable,
too.
yeah.
Like it came out really, really elegant looking. Sangria cocktail. We went through quite a few tries.
Yeah.
Because the first one I wanted to add port wine, and then I hated it, so we redid it. We did a lighter version, and we actually used Hennessy this time, which I think is a lot nicer.
Definitely gave it a better punch for sure. Besides that, it was Chambord, which is like a raspberry liqueur, and a little bit of Saint Germain, which is an elderflower liqueur. So you get like that, to just cut off the sharpness of the initial hit of the Hennessy, because I'm pretty sure everyone's had Hennessy at this point, so that first hit is kind of like but between that, it gave it like a nice balance, and then we topped it off with a little bit of sparkling.
Yeah, Hennessy, it's just it's very sharp in the beginning, but then it's super sweet and fruity on the back. The grape jellies actually turned out, so those were
Concord
really good
garnish.
Juice, and Hennessy.
I do wish we had those plums from last time, but that's just me. Now that
Yeah, no, the plums were good.
Plums were good.
I'm still thinking about the plum. I love your idea of actually like just this kind of abstract idea of just putting them on the edge of the glass. It looks super cool.
Oh yeah, no, like it's kind of like a simple garnish, and like, you know, like usually like with those like sears and stuff like that, you can't go too crazy, or like kind of looks like bubble tea. So I didn't want to go for that bubble tea look.
Oh, it's gonna look like bubble tea. That'll look cool. You came up with something more elegant than that, so it turned out really well. Okay, so then for the last drink.
Yes.
So I came to Ernesto with this idea that...
A good idea. Very, very good idea.
Thank you. It was actually an inspiration from my wife. She loves hookah. We went to Dubai, and she just became this big, like, hookah aficionado. And so, but I know her favorite flavor is grape mint, and I know that's a very popular flavor in the Middle East. So I wanted to make her this smoky grape mint kind of drink. So we came up with like a couple different renditions. What did we do? We had one with ginger beer.
Yeah, one with ginger beer, just one with regular sparkling water, and then one with sparkling apple cider.
Yeah. We used mezcal, which is very smoky. So it was kind of like, you know, is that going to be too smoky?
The idea I came up with kind of like a offbeat mojito for the most part. So like usually like you'll have like rum and like just lime juice and like, you know, whatever.
And
like,
mint,
and mint.
Makes sense.
So I muddled some mint originally to get that base, and then we used the grape and the mint syrup together with the muddling, so it brought out that extra flavor. So, and then with the mezcal on top of that, and then some lime juice, it just came out really good. And then when we topped it off,
came out really good.
We topped it off with the different three, and then the ginger beer one just stood out the most, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it
flavorful.
was just because the mezcal's so strong, that like the ginger beer stood up to it.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I expected the mezcal to overpower everything, but it didn't. So like I was actually really happy when everything complemented each other so well.
Yeah, that was a really good drink, and actually
really good.
Allie really liked it, so that seals the deal.
It's way more ginger beer.
Yeah.
Well, mix it up a little bit.
Oh, it tastes good.
This is creepy.
That's why I did it.
I kind of just want to express myself at the end of the day. That's what I want to do on my channel. I just want to make tasting menus. I want to create food, and I just want to, you know, share that with people that are interested, that want food entertainment, that aren't necessarily looking for a tutorial. They just want to watch food, you know, like, you know, on Instagram where you see those food porn things where it's just like cheese melting off a sandwich. It's just entertainment. There's no directions on how to do that, you know. So that's kind of what I want to provide. It's just make my art and put it out there, and whoever likes it, awesome, you know. And whoever wants to connect with me, or that's what it's all about. So that's what I'm all about moving forward.